But yes,
here we
the intro
are.
feels so long.
It is. And I'm just here and no one can see it, but then suddenly we're live.
Suddenly we're live. Yes. Well, welcome everybody that's joining and watching. And there is a bunch of chat happening. Oh, look at that. Mostly Gerald. Okay.
They added XP now to the chat. And whenever there's gamification there, I'm there. I need to win. So
did you see
currently
XP?
I'm number 2. You don't see that in the YouTube
I
chat?
do see that. Well, I've always thought you were number 2, but that was
all right. Thank you. See you next month.
All right, quick round of intros before we run everybody off. Welcome, everyone. I am David Ortinau, Product Manager for dotnet MAUI. And with me, my co-host at the bottom,
Gerald.
number two
on the stream and forever in life. That's how it goes. My name is Gerald. I work at Microsoft as a software engineer on the dotnet MAUI SDK. And, also on these streams out there with all kinds of content on dotnet MAUI, et cetera. But with us, most importantly, always our number one, Frank Krueger, right there. Long-time Xamarin person. Let me in.
One time.
You can do it.
All
One
time.
No, all time. What did it say? I'm going to stop talking.
Hi, everyone. I'm the one-time Xamarin developer, Frank Krueger. I don't have any great titles like that. I'm just an indie dev. I just hack and make apps and live on an island and do programming things. So hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. This is my first time on the show. Hope I do all right.
I think people probably know you from other spaces. Merge Conflict would be one.
Yeah. It's a podcast I have with the famous James Montemagno. I just kind of ride his coattails.
The famous Mott's.
Yes.
And then where else will people know you from? Continuous?
Oh, yep. Continuous is my IDE for the iPad and iPhone. Coding on the iPhone still a little bit hard. You might know me as Preclarum on GitHub and the X and the other social networks and all those things. Yeah, I'm just out here creating open source libraries. It's kind of what I like to do. Like I said, I make my living writing apps, so it behooves me to make some libraries from time to time and make my life
Absolutely.
simpler and help others out.
I think there's one library that probably almost every .NET MAUI dev and Xamarin dev in the world has in their app, right?
Oh, I guess so. Thanks to you guys, actually. SQLite-net. I got it. Don't forget the dash. The dash is important. It's a little ORM I baked up maybe 15 years ago now, and it's still going strong because
In the PCL
everyone
era,
needs
because I think
data.
there's dash PCL
Oh, yeah.
in there too.
Well, it predated the PCL era. Back in the
Right.
day, you just got the source code. We didn't even have package managers. I think it went around in email. You copy and pasted the source code out of email, so it's small.
What's an email? Do you have discs, like discs, the save icon that you would
Yeah,
print?
well, you had those rectangular things. What are they called? Yeah, I don't know. Little plastic things.
Little punch
So,
cards.
yeah. Yeah, in fact, you can still get the source code version of it. I think one of the packages is source code only. But yeah, you want to get SQLite-net-PCL. What a great name for a product. But even with terrible names, this is a lesson to everyone. Even with a terrible name, you can still get a famous library out there.
This is true. This is true. That's why I tell people don't write tests. You don't need tests. You can succeed without them. I mean, they're really just overhead in so many
You
cases.
made a little jump there. Mine is thoroughly tested. We're up to 70% code coverage.
Gerald, come on. Cheers, buddy. Cheers.
A water bottle.
Frank,
There we
do you
go.
have an Owala?
No, I have a Xamarin University.
Oh, there we go.
mug
One-time Xamarin developer.
represent.
That's legit. Yes, I do have a custom handmade. There you go.
That
Some
thing's
koi.
pretty.
I know. I was just reminiscing with Mads Torgerson about the old koi pond on campus.
Oh,
Bill
is that
Gates
the
Lake.
Balmer Pond?
That's what I used to
Bill
call
Gates. Yeah, I knew it was named
That's
after
what
one.
I called it. I don't know what anybody else called it, but it's not there anymore because they built new buildings. I know, it's a very sad thing.
Progress, I guess. Something.
It is progress. Yeah. So you also have that Circuit app, right? That was a big seller for you.
Oh, it remains a big seller for me. In fact, some would say I live my life off of that app. I pay for everything I have off of that app. Yeah, there's iCircuit available for iOS, Mac, Androids, Windows, all the platforms I can get that puppy onto.
Oh, you do have it on Android. I was about to say you're like an iOS Apple purist, but that's not necessarily the case, huh?
No, I'm a making money purist. When you're an indie dev, you care more about the money than ideologies. I'll just be blunt. I do prefer. I love iOS programming, and so that's what I call my home. But I am not above any of the other platforms. I've got them all running here. I have phones and devices surrounding me. I would even do some Chromebook programming if I could figure out how to monetize a web app.
Yeah, true. Well, you figured that out. Let everybody else know. Well, or keep it to yourself.
Yeah,
keep
business secrets.
Let me drop in the chat if I did I copy and paste? I did. For everybody on, let's see, we've got YouTube, we've got Twitch.
We're everywhere.
We used to have that thing. What was it? Periscope? We used to have that. I think that actually went down.
That went right over my head.
Periscope went down. Yeah,
Maybe
it was like
come back.
Maybe it'll
come back, right?
Maybe it'll come back. And I think there might be a couple other streaming platforms that we go to, but maybe they pare that down these days. Anyway, dropped a link to the blogs and the things that we'll talk about today. We'll spend a few minutes talking just general community news. Feel free to weigh in, Gerald, Frank, on thoughts. Hey, this is cool. Oh, this is a giant waste of time. Why would we? No, we'd never do that. But let me share my screen. Look at that. So this is the link that I just shared out, the URL list to these. And it's a very short list only because Mr. Goldman has already cataloged for us whoops, that's the wrong direction. The wonderful Maui UI July recap. And so if you just scroll down a bit, you get all those glorious links. You get a bunch of holy Batman. I would say that one of the biggest themes I saw, especially in the early blogs, but really throughout, was just how prominent and powerful the Skia Sharp is for developers doing UI things. I think I might have mentioned this in my blog. Did I mention this in my blog? Let's go look. Do you mind if we?
This is a waste of time.
I'll interject already. You were saying I'm an iOS purist, and I really am, but I use Skia Sharp for rendering an iCircuit all the time.
Okay,
it has nice hardware accelerated graphics, and I'm a speed freak in the end. I want high performance code and high performance rendering, so I use Skia Sharp too.
Yeah, it's really the way to go, right? And you had N graphics as well. That you just triggered that memory.
Cross graphics, N graphics, and
all the graphics.
I got my start doing graphics libraries. I can't help myself. Whenever I'm bored, I make a graphics library.
Yeah, but Skia Sharp, you would say, is the way to go. Do you ever feel like, oh, Skia's not going to do it for me? I need to go back to N graphics, cross graphics, something else?
Oh, so all my apps use all those libraries simultaneously. Okay. So they're all compatible with each other. That's what's nice. They all have their pros and cons. But Skia Sharp, 95% of the time is the right solution, especially because it has different backends. So you can have hardware accelerated, or you can use the native rendering, or this or that. Sometimes I disagree. Skia's rendering, like font rendering typography, is different than, say, Apple's typography. So if I'm doing heavy text stuff, I try to go native versus Skia. Little details like that. Yeah.
So that's actually the example that I have right in front of us. So this is my language learning app, and that's Korean for anybody who doesn't know. Not the blocks, the actual text, the rendering, the characters. But that was a problem I had here, was the font. But the reason that I went Skia Sharp here was because I originally, with my good friend Claude and I, with Copilot's help, wrote this, and it chose to do labels with formatted text and a bunch of spans, right? And turns out not very performant, not at all. And so the rendering, the scrolling, and everything was just super jank, not good at all. And so I was like, okay, well, let's try this with Skia Sharp. But my hesitancy actually was the font situation, the typography. I'm like, I don't think it's going to do what I want it to do. But in the end, the performance, night and day. It's just so buttery smooth. And I was actually quite pleased with what I got. Now, I'm not doing any baselining, and I didn't need to worry about that sort of thing. What actually does happen, though, is as it reads, as the audio plays, I get the words to highlight, so it's a very nice effect. And I can then, I was also pleased to see that the touch interactions were quite accurate. So I can touch on a word, get the definition. I can, if I don't have the definition locally, I can go to OpenAI and get their interpretation of the word. But yeah, Skia Sharp actually worked out quite well in that scenario. Maybe I should, did I try? I don't think I tried Maui graphics with that. I just, when it comes to graphics and text, I don't know. I just don't know, but I was pleased.
I think Maui graphics is nice if you want to just do it all in XAML, like just get it all done and just have a declarative way to do it. Skia for me is always that kind of real-time rendering, like games and simulations and all that. Like you could have a little bouncy ball following your words, not just highlighting. You could do
yes. That felt a little too PBS-y for me. I don't know, a little too educational. I don't know.
In this economy,
actually, you mentioned XAML. This app is actually all C#. There's no XAML.
Look, I like to say I'm a trendsetter for that. I always write my laws in code. But to be an honest developer, I like to make sure declarative still works.
Yes, for sure. So lots of good stuff in here. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? If you didn't see this, John Peppers put together kind of a collection of the different things that the team has been learning as they've worked with Copilot as well as the Copilot agent in GitHub. And these are some of the improvements that we have made, the team has made along the way, how to get more out of it, what to watch out for, and things like that. And we're actually having really good success right now in many areas, but the one that stands out to me is with our Android library bindings. So of course, Android has Android X and it's got Firebase and all the things, right? Like there's a lot there. And so those require binding to be productive in an Android environment. And the team has been really successful. In particular, the engineers that we work with at Syncfusion, using Copilot agent in GitHub along with their own smarts at creating those bindings. So that's saving us a ton of time, which is really what that comes down to. Frank just got blurry. He's blurred out. We may have
I
lost
do have
him.
a very slow network. I have to apologize to
Okay.
everyone.
Your audio is still there, so that's fine. As long as you didn't just fuzz out mentally, we're good.
Hopefully, the satellite will start working again.
Nah, that's fine. Well, I want to ask you, have you been using Copilot Agent, and what has your experience been? And maybe you've already talked about this on a merge conflict, and I'm outing myself as somebody that doesn't regularly check in.
Ouch. Well, sorry, I'll talk through the blur. Hopefully you can all still hear me. In fact, if you look at the library I'm going to talk about today, you'll see the second contributor is Copilot.
Okay.
I actually haven't used it very much, to be thoroughly honest. I find it's a great thing, but I find I actually have to write good PRs and good bug reports, or else it doesn't do a good job. And as a developer, I'm a really bad documenter. So I've had a little bit trouble. It feels like, look, I want to start with, it's awesome. It's cool. You can just assign it issues and it writes you code. But the downside I have with it is it can feel a little bit too much like a junior developer, where it's trying to please you and come up with an answer right away. And so it can be a little bit annoying guiding it if it makes a mistake. It's like, you got to fix that part of it. So, it'll take 3 or 4 code reviews before it actually outputs the code that I want. And then I start debating, could I have just done this faster? But, it's not me coding, it's me doing code reviews. So I think that there are huge benefits to it. And I do want to adopt it more in the future. I'm just trying to find that sweet spot, find what bugs it's good for, what bugs it's not. And it's one of those products that's just going to improve over time. So I have a few negative things to say about it, but overall I'm excited and want to use it more.
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of the, it's early stage tech. And anytime you're adopting something that is developing and growing rapidly, you got to have a tolerance for the oddities, right? Like it's going to require some learning and some adjustment and things like that. So, but
I think also right now it just uses like the open AI models, right? There's no way to kind of like switch models in there yet.
That's a good question. I hesitate to go to my admin panel and show you what things are.
No, I think they're working still on that. That you can also say like, hey, the what is it? The coding agent is what they call it. So the Copilot that's kind of like, you feed it an issue, you assign it, and then it will go off and do things. I don't think they have a way to kind of like say, hey, you should use the Claude model or whatever else is in there.
Yeah, because
that might help in that part.
Because Copilot Agent is essentially a very highly tuned, steered, like it's to swap out the model, I guess is what I'm getting at, would almost like throw it off, I would expect. I'm also speculating, so I should probably just stop immediately. And I know a little bit about what it actually is.
The models can pick up after each other because we are, oddly enough, using natural language to communicate between them, and they all understand natural language. So they actually can pick up from each other. I find the rabbit holes that each model will get into, or the quirks each model has, is the bigger issue. Like you can guarantee some models will make these mistakes, or this model will over-engineer it, or this one will choose to use interfaces everywhere where you don't want to, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, to that point, and this is on the article here, he goes into talking about Copilot instructions. Are you using things like the Copilot instructions and prompts to kind of keep it from going down those roads that that it might have a tendency to do? Like, don't ever do these interface things, or
Yeah, I'm personally trying to. I'm finding it's for each project because every app I have, I coded it in a slightly different style. So I'll be honest,
Okay.
it gets a little bit tiring having to make all these instructions all the time because each of my apps is so different. The instructions need to be different. And so
Mhm.
I've yet to get to the place where I want to be, and I just have like Frank instructions, and I can just copy and paste those into every
Yeah.
project.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely using them just to save myself chat time because I hate repeating myself all the time. And this is where you put anytime I find myself repeating myself, I will put it into an instructions file. I just wish I
Yeah.
had got I'm more I'm reusing them more. That's my only complaint with myself.
hmm Yeah. I've taken to if I even now I don't even wait to repeat myself. If I have to correct it even once, I tell it update the Copilot instructions file and trust that it has distilled in a way that it best could use the information next time. That seems to be working well. It stops making the same mistakes over and over again. What? I'm reading some of the chat here, and I'm like, "What are these? What is happening?"
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't mean to make fun of interfaces. It's just like
oh yeah,
sometimes they go crazy, and you're like, no, I don't
yeah,
like over-engineered things. Just solve the problem and keep it simple.
yeah. No, for sure. I've definitely had some of the bigger tasks that I've asked Copilot or Copilot agent to go do, come back with more architecture than I'm like, I don't need all that. You
Or the
can,
markdown files where it will tell you, I did this and this and that. Like, okay,
yeah,
that's nice. I don't need that in my repository.
right. I didn't ask you for the book report.
Yeah.
Having the visibility into its thought process can be
Sure.
good. But I guess you could maybe always ask for that later. I don't know. But anyway, for those who are interested in how to get the most out of Copilot Agent and at least how we are thinking about it on the Maui team at present, this is a great article for you to check out. And then, Gerald, you pointed me at this one. What do you know about this?
Did I do that?
You did. You
I
said
don't
you
think
added
so.
a cool new app, didn't you?
Oh, did
Or
I?
maybe you
I
did.
think
Maybe I grabbed this one. It was
I was gonna
the
say.
Morse code one was the one that
Yeah, that's it.
we're gonna get. Well, let me just go ahead and jump to that one then.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so this is I'm building a little list. You can compare it to the awesome GitHub repositories. So it's like github.com/my unpronounceable handle/build with Maui. There's a list with all kinds of, because I get the question all the time, right? Like, oh, what's actual apps that have been built with Maui? And yesterday, this was contributed. And it's been going under the radar because this person said, like, hey, I've been migrating this from Xamarin Forms to dotnet MAUI, and it lets you, I think, translate usual text to Morse code, which is fun. But I think then he also built a little thing where you can do a little quiz and kind of like, guess and learn Morse code if that's what you want. So, it's niche thing, I would think. But this thing on the Google Play Store has like 1 million downloads. So, this is not a small app. This has a big audience for whatever reason. So stop learning Korean and learn more.
It's funny because literally like last weekend I don't know, the thought just came to me. Do I remember SOS in Morse code? Like is it dot 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 dash dash dot, or is it
Don't
or is
ask
it
me.
or is it dash dash dot dot? And so this I'm totally gonna check this app out. And I love the fact that you can have it do sound and flashlight and vibrations. Like that's pretty slick. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Frank knows Morse code.
Oh, oh no. No, no.
No, I am
I do.
stunned.
You're hitting a little bit of a sore spot because I wish I knew Morse code.
Well, now you
But I
can.
absolutely do not. Okay, yeah. So I will go get your app. How much money is gonna give you?
Duolingo for Morse code. This is it.
Yeah, it's free. I don't even think it's doing in-app purchases. That he's got to work on that. Now, given your outdoorness and your tech prowess, I'm a little disappointed, Frank.
I'm pretty sure cell phones work pretty well. Text
This thing.
messaging superior to Morse code, but yeah, I think I know SOS, like dot 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 dash dash dash, something like that. Dot dot dot. I think
Yeah,
that one's
something like
easy.
that. That's the problem. It's something like that, and then somebody's going to be, listening on the
Where's the
way.
autocorrect on this thing?
Exactly. I think I found this app, this pedometer blog, with the help of my deep research partner, which found all of the Maui UI July blogs for July, and then this one about this developer that built a pedometer app, and he, kind of used these controls. What I really like is once you get down here and the big reveal, is that it is actually good looking. Look at that. Beautiful. So gotta love a good looking app. And I tell you, if you didn't catch, did anybody, you know what? I don't even toot my own horn very well. Let's go over here and let's go VS
Hey,
Live.
let's watch that live stream there. That looks interesting.
Oh, that live stream, does that look good? So apparently, where's my presentation? I have a presentation from VS Live up here somewhere. What was it called? If I do 2025, I was on a meeting this morning with a customer, and he said, "Oh, I actually watched your presentation from VS Live," and I'm like, "What?" So it was I just presented it yesterday. It's not even here. I don't even know where it is.
Maybe it's the top one. Isn't that like super long? Yeah, it's like 8 hours, so it's all just in the live stream thing.
It's all just there.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not cool. All right, wait till it comes out on demand. But I actually show Copilot Vision, where you can grab an image of whatever, pop it into Copilot and say, generate the XAML or the C# or however you're doing your UI. And it does a fantastic. Look at that, Frank's back.
Debugging Apple bugs during a
Good
live show is so
job.
much fun.
Yeah, right. Well, now you're no longer NC-17. You are now you're now rated G. Acceptable for all audiences, general audience.
In Apple's defense, I'm running all the betas, so who knows? Who knows what?
Yeah, I haven't gone there with the Mac OS yet, but I've got it everywhere else. All right, let's see, and then let's just land here, and let's start talking about CrossIntelligence, because this is something that we're working on some things, right? We want to be there. Frank, of course, is faster than us, and he beat us to the punch. And so we want to work together on this and say, okay, well, how can we bring this kind of stuff to all the platforms that support it? Because more and more devices are going to be coming out with the necessary hardware and GPUs and things, as well as the onboard models, right? Like, I think that's kind of the big deal here, right? Isn't it that Apple is now going to be shipping models with iOS 26?
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing for me. I have been #finally, by the way. I've got to give that to Apple. I've been waiting for this forever. I've been putting local models on the phone for the last couple of years now, and they all had problems. You would literally feel the phone getting hot in your hand. It would kill the battery. You would pass like a context window of 500 tokens. The whole thing would just explode because the memory manager couldn't handle it anymore. And so and on top of that, if your app wanted to use a model, it would have to download that model. This like 2 GB or 3 GB thing. So for me, it's a really huge deal that they are shipping an on-device model. I can say lots of things about whether it's a good model or not, but it's there, and I can start adding AI features to all my apps. And I've been wanting to do this for a very long time now. I should say I'm cheap. I just don't want to pay for servers and remote things unless the user's paying for it. So we can talk about that, where like if you have a free version of the app, it's really nice to just offer a free LLM to them. Maybe if they're a paying subscriber, then you can start paying Azure or OpenAI or whoever else Gemini to do all its queries. So for me, I've been wanting to add intelligence to my apps for a long time. I do it with small models. Now I actually have a decent sized model. I can start adding AI features to my apps. We'll talk
And
about
with the on-device models previously, were you using Onyx or some other?
No, I like Misery. So I was hand converting all models to Apple's Core ML system. Or not, I mean, they have so many. They have MPS graph, metal performance shaders graph. And so I would hand convert all the models over to that. Back in the day, there was llama.c++ or something like that. I was using that one for a while. And then I got Apple's own native libraries to execute the models. But even those would have like weird memory leaks where like at a certain point, it would just keep eating up memory. And I thought I knew everything about memory management. Turns out I could not get those models to run. It's very humbling when you think I know everything about memory allocation, and then you're like, I cannot find the bug in this code.
Well, why don't you?
So,
Because I've got lots of questions and lots of things that I think we could talk about. But why don't I go ahead and share your screen if you're ready,
okay, yeah,
and
we'll
you
see if
walk us through what this is and what you've done, and blow our
yeah.
minds.
All right, everyone. Hi. So this is a little library I wrote, and it is little, called CrossIntelligence. The cross being cross-platform. I do hope to execute other local models too, but I'll have a discussion with David on what Microsoft is doing and what I should do. But the overall goal here was to be able to access Apple Intelligence from all your MAUI and .NET apps. So you can access Apple Intelligence from iOS, Mac Catalyst, the MAUI platforms, but also Mac OS. I still have Mac OS GUI apps written in .NET that I wanted to be able to access. And the other important thing was that older apps that didn't require iOS 26 could also still use this library. Of course, they can't access the models, but important to me, those apps don't crash either. They degrade in a nice way. You can tell the users, oh, you can't run this model. So to that end, I tried to create the simplest possible API I could think of. That's usually my goal. And if I bump up my font a little bit, you can see using it is pretty dang easy. You just pull in that namespace, don't even have to do that. Create yourself a session, which is really just keeping a little bit of a chat history. So you can create and throw away these sessions willy-nilly, however often you want to. Just think of it as they hold context. Sessions hold context. And then for your real basic kind of like chat scenarios, it's real simple. You can say session.respond async and throw it a little string. What is the meaning of life in this case? And it's async. I did a good job there because it is on device, but it's not instant. It can still take something like this that generates like a short paragraph or two will take a second or two. So these aren't instant things. You want to have everything asyncy. And then you just blurt that puppy out. Obviously, this is no GUI here, but I have some demos later, and I can show you how to integrate them into a GUI app. But that's kind of LLMs 101. That's the most basic use of an LLM. These days, we have more advanced scenarios where you want to do structured output. So instead of returning you a string, it returns you a data object. So that was something I wanted to support. And then even more important than that is tool or function calling, where you define some code in your app that you give the LLM access to. And I have some examples there. So for example, if I had a video game and I wanted to create some non-player characters, I could have an add player tool, give it access to my game database, give the little tool name, give it a little description so the AI knows what it is. And then whenever the AI needs to create a character, whenever you tell it to create a character, it can actually execute some code. So tools are used for roughly two things in the AI world. Tools can provide additional information to the AI, add to its context. That's kind of the boring version of what a tool can do. The more fun version of what a tool can do is manipulate your own data structures, do mutations, and change your data models. And I think in apps that make good use of AI, these are the kind of tools that you'll be implementing, where you give it access to your internal data models and allow it to do manipulations on the user's behalf. So instead of writing a function for every kind of manipulation you want to do of your object model, you just pass it the object model and cross your fingers and hope the AI does the right thing and create a bunch of these kinds of tools. How's that sound? Does that sound like a useful thing?
Absolutely. So I have a question about that. So when I think of tools, especially in the app, it's usually the AI agent, chat client, whatever, in the app that is going to make use of those tools.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking in terms of, since now you're working with on-device local models, kind of the app intense way of thinking about things, right? Where somebody is just talking to their phone or interacting with it there. Can it call into the app and then use a tool in the app to satisfy? Like, can you register those tools with the OS?
Not
Or
with
does
the
does that require wrapping it in an app intent?
right. App intents for now. Apple is going its Siri plugin system right now, and I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole because it changes every year. But Apple keeps pushing, app intents, for lack of a better word, to handle all that stuff. For me, this is adding intelligence to my existing apps. I don't necessarily need to talk to the external world. So George in the chat said, what are the privacy boundaries for this? The beautiful thing about running local models is your data is never going over the internet. It's just staying memory local to your app. And so you don't have to worry so much about security things because Apple's not logging it. And it's really up to you to, just not expose personal information or anything to the internet. And it won't be by default. So you use things like NPC servers when you want to talk to an external tool or something like that. Those aren't really, I don't have support for those. In the sandbox model of apps, they don't really work that great. So to your point, it will be some kind of Siri or app intents to make apps talk to other apps. But I think that there's a lot of ground you can cover without that. I think just adding intelligence to your own apps should be the first step.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool.
Yep. So I thought we would go through maybe a demo, show this puppy actually working. Yeah.
Right on. I heard you put color to it. You made it pretty. You made it super
It's
pretty.
a lovely default purple. Yeah. Oh, different font sizes too. Some are bolded. So let me.
As you get into the demo, like hardware wise, like does this work on everything? Or you got to have a modern device? What do you got to?
Yeah. So I should say, probably the hardest part, you have to pass 3 gates to have Apple Intelligence working. Number 1, someone needs to be on iOS 26 or newer, macOS 26 or newer. Their device has to be something like a 12 Pro and newer. I forget the exact minimum device, but it really comes down to RAM. So you need one of the old Pro devices or a modern device to have enough RAM to run Apple Intelligence. And then on top of that, Apple Intelligence is still an opt-in feature. I don't think it's turned on by default when you just get a new phone. So the user at some point has to enable it. So those are 3
and
pretty
on top
big
of that,
gates.
You have to not be in Europe.
Oh, geez. Well, on top of that, you probably want to be English because they don't have very good multilingual models yet.
No, but I think I'm not following it too closely, but I don't think we still have most of the features because of GDPR, blah, blah. And they're just saying like, that's too much. And I don't know, maybe there's some politics, obviously some politics going on. Like, you're going to, give us a hard time, then we're not going to give you the goodies or something like that. So we only get half the stuff, I think.
Apple and Europe famously get along. So.
Yeah, there we go.
I apologize. Mine does really poor French if you want to try to give it attention if it works that way. So there's a lot of gates. And so one of the first functions I implemented is just a big global static function, is Apple Intelligence available? It's just a big old Boolean that's going to tell you yes or no, and it'll query every time you ask for it. And that was one of the most important things. I didn't want it crashing my old apps, and I wanted an easy way to detect if those old apps were working. So anyway, I thought we would start with, let's assume you've passed all those gates and we're here. We can, every LLM needs a chat demo. So I thought I would just show that. I mocked up this, didn't mock up. This is a real app, everyone. This is quality stuff. I'm charging $20 per user. So you can say something like, hello, my name is Frank. This is definitely a good use of modern technology and all the GPUs we have. And it responds, I think, pretty quickly. Hello, Frank. Great to meet you. How can I assist you today? Yeah. How about tell me something interesting about my name? This is a real random thing. I've asked it this query a few times. Old English, great. High German, Frank or Front, and a free and bold. Sure, we'll go with that. But you see, it generated two, and I should say this is an M1 iPad. So this is basically your kind of minimum iPad this stuff is going to run on. It's pretty fast for generating just two paragraphs. There's no system prompt here, so it's kind of doing its own thing. What's another one I should ask? Any particular aspects? Tell me how to pronounce Frank. I just like asking it silly things.
Sure.
It's pronounced as Frank, by the way. So that's what's important. So you get the idea. This is a very simple chat. And I think we could just take a quick look at the code so you can see how easy it is, I think, to implement.
And your iPad is not heated up at all, right? Temperature still good?
As far as I can tell. I mean, it's getting a little bit warm in the summer here, but yeah, it runs. And I think the most important thing for me has been the stability of it. And all of I've been doing a lot of messing around with it. I could get my local models to crash all the time. And I mean a hard crash. Like the operating system gets angry. Because when you run out of GPU memory, iOS gets very angry. And you have to do some like hard restarts to get it back to happy state. So this is a very simple app. Obviously, I have a transcript entry. This is kind of like my view model, I guess. I don't really. It doesn't notify property change because it doesn't mutate, so it's fine. It's fine, everyone. Keep it simple. And you can see I literally mix data with formatting because it's fine. I keep things simple. So here's my simple view model. There's a text, and it's whether it's a user or not. It's whether it's from the model or not, and then it just changes a few silly things, the horizontal options and the background color being the most important, obviously, to make it a good chat experience.
Love it.
Let's ignore my use Apple Intelligence toggle for now. We'll get into that later. It doesn't matter, honestly. So very first thing I do is I check, is Apple Intelligence actually available? Now, all the functions will throw an exception or return null, whatever is appropriate for the case. But it's still good to check. So you can pop up your own good UI and everything. Make sure that there's actually a valid prompt typed in. Do a little bit of UI work. Disable the UI for the moment. In general, Apple only wants you issuing one request prompt to a session at a time. It's a little bit robust. It can handle if you send multiple, but don't do it. In fact, I'll put in a newer version of the library, I'll put some harder locks in and semaphores to prevent that kind of stuff. But if you need to do multiple queries at the same time, create multiple sessions. Just at one session, only do one request at a time.
Do they rate limit you at all, or is there a limit to the sessions that you can?
Nope. I mean, memory and all that is always the biggest concern. But if you think about it, each session has to maintain context, and that context itself, people don't think about. They tend to think in terms of tokens, but contexts are bigger than that. Contexts are the actual. There's an entire vector of numbers, of floating point numbers associated with every token. And so that chat history can get bigger. It's not just, a bunch of integers representing tokens. There's like a 2 kilobyte vector, mathematical vector associated with every token. So 2 kilobytes times every token, you start eating up memory at some point. But this library, everything's garbage collected and all that as quickly as possible. In fact, Session has it implements the iDisposable pattern. So if you're really concerned about memory, you can always just dispose it and make sure it's gone right away. Because this is such a simple app, all it needs to do is call session respond async with the prompt, grabs that prompt, adds it to the data model, and then basically just re-enables the UI. It uses the fancy scroll to function. Actually, does the scroll to function work? I haven't even tried that. Let's add another thing.
Keep going.
Tell me a better name than Frank. See, I didn't have it scroll to the prompt, but it scrolled to the response. Excellent.
Did you need to throw it to the UI thread? All right. So I have a question that popped into my head. So one of the things that I did in my build demo was I brought a lot of other context, right? So I used the API to get my own GPS location, so that I knew that if I had a to-do item that was like coffee store or something, it could know my location, query Google's API to determine, is there a coffee shop nearby? And then that would give it a higher priority in my list. Got to go back to the Win phone days of, when we actually got that kind of location-based alerts. So
Yeah.
I guess my question is, like, could you ask it right now, what's my location, or tell me about my device? Like, how much context does it already have that I wouldn't have to go do the API calls myself, right?
Yeah. So I actually don't know the answer to this, or then I will assume it knows nothing, because my experience has been Apple gives it no context like that.
Yeah.
I do support system prompts, instructions, developer prompts, whatever you want to think of them as. And you could pre-fill that information with whatever you could query, or you could create a tool, as I'll kind of show a little bit later. But let's find out. In general, Apple just, I can't. Yeah, so Apple doesn't provide that, and for good reason. I think they're doing a security first, privacy first model. If you have access to that information, just add it as a tool or add it to the system prompt.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did in my app. Is I did it as a tool, but it occurs to me, of course, that if it's a local LLM running on my device, it might actually know things.
Yeah. And I should say, the previous response is a little bit telling. Notice how it gave 4 suggestions, all the same name. You are seeing, these small language models. I hate that term, but that's what it is. They make mistakes, and they're not as powerful as the other ones. And so, a secondary goal I had with CrossIntelligence is you can grow out of that and start calling into bigger models. And that's the same thing like Microsoft Extensions AI would give you. With the same code, with the same API, you can grow from the small models up to the big models that cost you money. I found that a lot with adding intelligence to my apps. Maybe I'll ask too much out of the small Apple model. And then like maybe it's good if the user is on their free tier or they're on an airplane or something like that. But if they're a pro subscriber or something to your app, then maybe you want to give them access to OpenAI or something like that. Even one of the cheap big ones will outperform Apple Intelligence. So you could pick the cheapest OpenAI out there and it'll probably outperform it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where things are going to be for a while, probably, is that with some of the tasks that we have that are more complex that we're asking it to do, being able to choose the cheaper versus the pricier models to deliver even just parts of the task, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I did in my build demo also is that I do this voice to structured data situation, right? So it's going to do a transcription. And then it's going to then make sense of that transcription and turn it into structured data that goes into my database. I didn't need to use an AI model to do the transcription. Now, where that could have been more useful is if I was asking it for nuance, right? Like, it's not just word for word, but like now interpret that based on my tone, right? Like that you now know that I was being sarcastic because of the way in which I said it. Kind of the reason that you do a voice memo when you're trying to get your message across to somebody instead of doing a text message, because you want them to hear your voice so that they don't misunderstand.
Yeah.
or that they know exactly just how angry you are. So
Yeah, and actually,
in that respect, I think, there's some orchestration of being able to choose different models for different parts of the tasks. So like I would want to use the onboard CrossIntelligence way of doing something for a portion of it, but I know that that model is just not going to be good enough to do the actual sense making. And I want to go to the cloud, preferably Azure Foundry, by the way. That's where you really want to be.
Yeah, every time I say OpenAI, obviously you're going through Azure. Obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, we're running out of time, so let me burn through some more quick demos because I think these are the more fun features. The chat part is fun. I mean, but no one wants a chat in every app. Every app does not need a chat. But these features I'm about to show next, I think every app should have. So the first one that you're probably going to want is what you just mentioned, the structured output. This is going back to the example here where I have an actual data structure that I want to have it return. So I'm having it generate a non-player character for a game with a name and an age and occupation. Those are the worst things. But you can see in this case, I actually gave it three things. The structured response data type, it's just a type, and I gave it instructions and a prompt. So you are an RPG character for a fantasy game, and generate me a character name. And I'll run that. It'll take a momento, and there we go. Elderon, Everglow, whatever. And now what's funny is I can actually press the run button a couple times, and because I create a session each time, it's vaguely running those. It's serializing them, obviously, because it only has so much memory, but it's queuing them up, and it's waiting to run each one. And so this is fun. Anytime.
Frothwick Flutternutter.
Let's say, have the name start with David.
Oh, no.
David Glimmer
Glimmer
Whisper.
Whisper.
Age 34. That's how old you are, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That's about right.
I can pass as 34 on occasion.
Now I want to show, so that's the structured output. Very useful for just doing generative tasks. But now the most important ones are the tool calling. And I want to show that off. The cool thing about tool calling, notice I wrote a little tool here called GUID generator. That's what every good tool is, a GUID generator. I don't know why that's the first demo that came to my head. It's the worst idea ever. The neat thing, and this drove me a little bit nuts dealing with the Swift concurrency model, but your tools can be async also. So if you want to do like a web request or do something that takes time in your tool calls, you absolutely can. So let's go back to the demo here, and I'm going to hit run. And hopefully, if the demo gods are good, yes, I actually get a breakpoint right in my tool. We could see the call stack here. It's not very interesting, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But eventually it's calling into my code. I'm going to put a second breakpoint just to demonstrate. We had to delay 1 second. That's very important to demos. So the GUID I generated within my app is C17D. And I will just now let it run to completion. Go back to the app. And you can see it actually did receive that C17 data. So that's demonstrating that whatever data you want to add to its context is very easy with a tool call, especially now that it's async.
Nice.
James made me put that in. I'd forgotten about web requests. I'm like, oh God, async, it's so hard. I mean, binding to a Swift API is hard. Swift is a whole world of messiness, but getting the async working, I'm very proud of myself for that one. I make no guarantees about what thread any of that's going to execute on. Later on, I may try to capture the scheduler so that if you call respond from the UI thread, I guarantee the tool's called on the UI thread. But for now, don't assume it's called on the UI thread. But let's ignore that. And for the moment, assume it's going to be called on the UI thread for the next demo. And for the next demo, it's a very silly one. But I want to show you a tool that actually manipulates a data structure. So in this case, I have a color setter tool. And it takes a data model which is actually just the example itself. So the examples are a data class. Ignore that. Just imagine any old data model that you want to throw in here. Tools have names and descriptions. That's normal. But what you'll see is it actually manipulates that data object. And in this case, I'm setting a background color. So if we go to the demo, say you are a UI designer, you always want to give it instructions so it knows. When you give it tools, it knows those tools exist, but AIs are kind of dumb. So you want to be explicit. Go like, if you have this task, use this tool. Don't rely on just the name and the description of the tool. So be explicit. You are the designer capable of changing the style of UI elements. Use the tool set color whenever the user asks you to set the color. Color should be specified using hashtag syntax. And I should say every tool gets a set of arguments, which itself is a data structure. And you could put multiple properties here, and it will fill those in. This one is very simple. It's just an HTML color string. And so if I run this, it changed the UI. Oh, sorry, I should actually show the demo. If I run this, it actually showed, I told it to change it to a nice color of blue. I could say, because this is Maui, a nice version of purple. And there we go, we get a nice purple. And then let's say a color, color of your choice. It's always fun to just roll the dice. Oh, and did it pick a purple or did it fail? Oh, no. Okay.
It wants you to provide it?
Make something up.
Yes.
There we go.
Beautiful.
Sometimes you gotta be pretty explicit with
the
things.
color is set to
It's been
red.
set to red. Interesting.
Exposing,
that is funny.
exposing some flaws.
Yeah, a little bit of flaws. And I would show
But because they chose RGB instead of a hex value.
Probably we could. Oh, I shouldn't have deleted those. We could go back into the debugger. Oh, whatever. If we go into the debugger, we can actually see the data that they provide. So I'll just run that prompt again. And you'll notice that my execute method, which is called invoke, I should have called it invoke, gets that color arguments, the input, and it's actually producing an HTML color string. This one is actually a blue, so that'll be correct. And in the demo, it turned to a blue. Anyway, I just wanted to show that you can manipulate your own in-memory data objects too from these tools. So tools provide context to the model, information to the model, or you can use them to actually manipulate your data model, your actual app information. So that's it. That's demos, babe.
I love it. This is gonna be so much fun because, I've been doing. I think we've all been doing this on our computers, on our machines, and we're like, man, we need to get this on our devices. We need to get this on our phones, our tablets, because there's such a rich amount of information there with which to give context to AI to do some really interesting things. So I'm very excited about this, and we'll work with you to, polish this up. We'll get some extensions AI, maybe. We'll get, I don't know. We were having a discussion about semantic kernel. I don't know why, but and then we need to get this going for Android and for Windows. And Mr. Leibowitz is all over it. So
there's already the two open issues on my project are
Is there?
on Windows and make this work on Android. So that's just my own ignorance.
Oh no.
Yeah, that I went iOS first, and I just have iOS apps, so it's fun. I've already integrated this into Kelka, which is my text editor that loves
didn't even
math.
mention that one.
Yeah. So
I paid you for that. I think I paid you for that.
No, excellent. So back in the day, if someone put some information in, it would try to query Google, and I would try to scrape Google. It never worked. It was too hard to track. And now with basically one line of code, I can just have it inserting data into all your files and everything. And it ended up being real easy. So I hope everyone will check out this library.
Absolutely. I will definitely be using it. As a matter of fact, as soon as we get off this call, I think that's one of the first things I'm going to do. Because I'm jet lagged from being in Redmond, and I don't have meetings this afternoon. So what better time to go do some dog fooding of my stuff, and I'll use your stuff.
Cool. Try to have it make better colors.
Yeah, well, we'll work on it. Is this sample up on the repo too?
Yeah, this whole sample is there. Right now, the sample references the project in the repo, so you'll probably want to copy paste the sample and change it to a NuGet package reference. It's up on NuGet right now, so
Cool.
it's just called CrossIntelligence up on
And I don't need
NuGet.
special entitlements or anything?
Nothing. You can put this. You don't even. This will run. It'll give an error, but it'll run on an iOS. 16. What is the previous version before 20? They've totally messed me up with the 26. Whatever. You can run it on older
18.
hardware. 18.
18's the iOS, 16's the Xcode, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
now we'll
I
have
get so
consistent
confused.
numbers for everything. So even Mac Catalyst jumped the numbers.
Yeah, so it'll work on an iOS 26 device that has Apple Intelligence enabled, and it will give errors on everything else.
All right, fantastic. Brilliant work, man. I really appreciate it. And it's so much fun having you on. Sorry, Gerald, you didn't get much in.
Oh no, this is fine. I've learned tons. If I'm gonna try if this works in Europe. I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna open a bug, make this work in Europe.
Yeah, I won't know what to do with the bug, but I'll forward it to Apple.
Well, you feel free to tell Matthew when he opens a bug on you. Great, send me a PR.
Yeah,
We'll
that's what we do.
Assigned to Copilot.
Exactly. All right, folks, we are out of time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching. And if you are watching it on demand, I hope you really enjoyed it. Leave us a good comment and let us know what you'd like us to talk about next time. And until then, I think we might be coming to you from Prague next time. I don't know. We'll find out. Cool. Enjoy your day. Go forth and write some code. Bye. And end.